Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 9th meeting of the Honolulu Liquor Commission. I see that we have some minutes to approve, Commissioners.
Yes, Chair, motion to approve the regular and executive session minutes for the 40th meeting and 45th meetings as previously circulated.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The regular and executive session minutes for the 40th and 45th meetings as previously circulated are approved. At this time, we'll move into our calendar for this afternoon, calling agenda item number 1, transfer application number 23-00330 from Jinhee and Jack LLC.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Commission. Dennis Jung on behalf of the applicant Jinhee and Jack LLC DBA Club 1010. With me is the member manager Ju Ok Song, JU space OK SOUNG.
Yes.
Thank you, Catherine. Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meeting due to lack of quorum. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to this agenda item number 1? Hearing and seeing none, Commissioner.
So I only have one question based off the floor plan. Based off the report, it states that there's 2 karaoke rooms, but on the floor plan, there's only 1 listed. Where is the second one?
Office, you're gonna use office.
Ms. Song indicates that there's only 1 karaoke room. The other one is being used as an office. So
Okay,
it's not going to be
No, we're not gonna use it for the thing.
it's not going to be used.
okay. That's the only question I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, move to approve application number 23-00330.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Transfer application number 23-00330 is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Calling agenda item number 2, application number 23-00054 from 8th Premier LLC.
Good afternoon. To my right is Katie Yoza. She is the owner. She is present with Council Wayne Luke. We have no changes to the investigators report.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meeting due to lack of quorum. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there anyone who'd like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 2? Hearing and seeing none, Commissioners.
so Mr. Luke, only question I have is in the report, right? It talks about Suite C being covered under a different company for liquor licensing. You guys have taken care of that, right, already?
Yeah, well, that's one of the conditions. We have to have a letter from them too.
Okay. Right, I have no other questions.
I move to approve application number 23-00054.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00054 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 3, application number 23-00564 from JJ Crew Hawaii Inc.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina here on behalf of the applicant, and with me I have Roger Mina, the food and beverage manager, and behind me is Miss Liberty Lee, the general manager. I'll let you ask questions, but I have my own thoughts about the supplemental report, which I'm happy to share at the appropriate time.
Okay, before we get to that, Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meeting due to lack of quorum. This application has received 2 written protests, 1 letter in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of the this application. And you do have a copy of the licensing supplemental investigative report that was uploaded to the board packet today, provided to counsel for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Yes, we have received that and we have reviewed that as part of the package. I do have a note here that there's an individual who would like to provide public testimony as to this agenda item number 3. Is there a Mr. Philip Wong? Please come forward, sir. Mr. I will swear you in and then you can provide your testimony.
Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you give at today's hearing will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
You may sit if you'd like.
And I'll be running a 3-minute timer.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. Name is Philip Wong. I'm a resident of the Greenview condominium. I've been fishing 60 years ago when Aliapa'akai was once a real salt lake. I've seen changes building a golf course during my high school. I'm the first graduating class of Honolulu High School. Yeah, I'm not sure what's planned here. Hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. I am an environmental health specialist for the Department of Health. My principal job for most of my 36 years has been noise pollution. From complaints from concerts, Waikiki Shell Convention Center, and the Stadium Authority, Aloha Stadium, I have conducted sound level measurements in surrounding communities. I started surveys for the Honolulu Liquor Commission under then Randall Yoshida. We were enforcing Title 11, Chapter 43, Community Noise Control for Oahu then. I have worked under liquor commissions from Kauai, Oahu, Maui, and Hawaii Island. I remember the Liquor Commission adopting their own noise code from my once administrator, Mr. Jerry Haruno. And I believe you folks have your own noise code today because of it. I am not a consultant or engineer in the physics of sound. I'm only certified to take sound level readings for the state of Hawaii. I'm here just as a citizen. I'm not working right now. Wanted to see a comparison with regards to the physics of sound. If you have a background reading, and Salt Lake at night is very quiet, let's say at 33 decibels, crickets making that noise equivalent, let's say to 1 drum far away. By the time it gets to a night at 10 o'clock PM, where the standards for residential would be 55 decibels to 10 o'clock, that would be equivalent to 128 drums versus the background, which would have been maybe 33 decibels. If the noise or whatever music comes after 10 PM to 2 or let's say 4 in the morning, 45 decibels would be equivalent to, let's say, 16 drums. So there's another issue here with regards to boombox noise. If it's a low frequency type sound, your windows may shatter, but it doesn't even pick up with regards to a sound level meter because the laws are made with on the A scale. It's an average of high and low decibels to give you a number. The C scale is only on, is it time?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We'll allow you to summarize a response. You don't have to stop so immediately.
I'm just asking, is this if the liquor license passes, how will it benefit my community? We have noise variances at night for construction. And because of gridlock during the daytime hours, we allow work at night. However, the project is temporary as the project moves on. This one may be noise every weekend. I'm not sure what is going on, but after that, I just want to summarize. Liquor Commission finishes once the doors are closed, and then HPD gets involved with shouting voices and potential people with alcohol hitting vehicles along the residential areas. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Before you leave, Mr. Wong, Commissioner, do you have any questions for Mr. Wong?
Is it appropriate if I have a question?
Point of order, is it Usually they can direct a response to us, correct? Yeah, you may direct a response to us, but not directly to the testimony.
I'm just wondering, so JJ.
But I'm sorry, not quite yet. We'll finish with the testifier first.
I do have one question. So could I summarize? Part of your concerns are primarily the noise that would be coming from granting a liquor license.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
See you. Thank you, Mr. Ron. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 3? Okay, hearing and seeing none. We will turn to
Hand
comments
it to her.
from you, Ms. O'Hara, but there are a few things I would like you to address. First, of course, if there's any comments to the testimony we just heard, please provide them. The second, and as you've already indicated, there's a supplemental report that discusses communications between your clients and a protester. And I'd like you to address that, and in particular, section 281-59 of the Ohio Revised Statutes and how that communication will relate to that statute. Go ahead, Mr. Herman.
So with respect to the recent testimony we just heard, and we did receive a second, we had 2 written objections. Another one had to do with noise. In light of what happened in the supplemental report, we did not feel comfortable following up with that person, but there is in fact a noise protocol in place with Honolulu Country Club. So there is a phone number that people can call if there's noise. So instead of calling HPD or the commission, they can call the number. Their complaint will be directed to a manager and the noise complaint will be addressed. I do have to say that based on some of the comments we received, it seems like people think that it's a new license. I mean, it is a new license, but this is not a new establishment, right? The Honolulu Country Club has existed since the 70s, and JJ Koo has actually been operating it in the past year. I'm not sure if this gentleman had complaints within the past year, but if he did, this number is available, and Roger or another manager will address them immediately. I did want to say that amplified sound is actually not allowed outdoors. The only amplified sound is within the ballroom. So there really should not be noise escaping. The golf course does not host any concerts, so that should also not be a concern in terms of noise. Do you guys have any questions though about noise complaints generally before I move on to the supplemental report?
Yes, I do. Have a few. One, of course, it's not uncommon for country clubs to have a liquor license. Is this applicant or soon to be licensee, if we approve it, going to do anything out of the normal course of what a country club typically offers?
No, but I'll let Roger.
No, we're operating as we've always been operating for the past 40-something years. We do have banquet events, no concerts or such, these banquet events, weddings, graduations. They may have music or dancing going on, but our events end at 10 o'clock. That, just based on when the noise is supposed to end, it says at 10 o'clock. And we haven't had any, people have said they've called the police, but we haven't had any HPD come down to ask us. And there's always a manager on duty that's registered with the Liquor Commission to handle these kind of events or any type of complaints. And if there are complaints during the daytime, because we have at least 6 different departments within the country club, not only the food and beverage side, if someone complains about lawnmowers making noises and stuff, we'll direct it to our golf course maintenance department, who can handle that. They're a supervisor, their manager. Right, so we have protocols in place to handle the noise situation. And for us, we can kind of tell when something's getting kind of loud, and we'll actually go in there and tell people to turn down the music. And we've actually told parties that if you don't turn it down, we will shut you down. So we take these kind of things very seriously.
How close in proximity are the facilities to residential areas?
So it does abut the resident, so the golf course itself. There on one end, there's kind of like a canal, and directly on the other side of that, there are some condos, which may be the condo that the gentleman is from, the Greenview condo. But otherwise, it's mainly single family home, and they do, again, it's a country club like plopped in the midst of a residential area, similar to like how there are houses right across the street from like Wildlife Country Club and stuff like that. Which is why we have this protocol in place for noise, because we wouldn't want our neighbors to, you know, not like us. We've been around for a long time. We intend to continue to be around for decades. And then I should have mentioned Roger, we've carried him over from prior ownership. And I would like to mention that even under the prior ownership and their liquor license, they did not have, you know, a lot of incidents or complaints or violations. So he was a good employee to carry over.
Thank you. Commissioners, before we move to the supplemental report, any additional questions on the noise complaints?
So I guess one of my follow-up questions is going to be, we're seeing, you know, more and more courses do different types of things, night markets, those types of golf tournaments that run to have a concert after that. So I know you said you're not looking in that area, but I would recommend, if that becomes something, if the liquor license does pass through the process here, you need to have some way of letting us know, or letting the community know these changes, because obviously that's going to impact numerous people. And so just on that understanding. Okay, that's any question I have, or I guess comment.
Yes, so if you can proceed to, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting on hand. Is there any additional? This is,
I think that's his estimate.
yeah, we are receiving into the record some notes from the individual who provided public testimony a moment ago. So this will be made part of the record. Ms. Earl, please continue with the supplemental report and your response to that.
So I know you guys have read the report, so you read the initial email, and then generally speaking at these hearings, if and when there is opposition, we're often asked as the applicant, like, did you follow up and did you respond? So given that normal protocol, we did want to respond to this individual. Notably, we responded because it seemed like he was thinking this was a new license and a new establishment that was cropping up in the area. And so we wanted to clarify for him that this is a country club that's been around, since the 70s. And I felt the email was very friendly and worded informationally. I do understand that the individual alleges that he considered the response a threat to his safety. I don't agree with that characterization. I do understand that triggered an investigation. What's not necessarily summarized here, but I have looped in Daniel and Anna and court counsel with some of my interactions with investigator Cruz were a little awkward. For example, the demand for an in-person meeting, and when asked why we were having a meeting, the refusal to provide me any information or documentation, despite being asked repeatedly. In the meeting itself, I was asked 3 questions, all of which, in my opinion, I could have been asked over the phone. But again, I maybe understand that it was to protect what Fred called the integrity of the investigation, but I did feel like it was a little heavy-handed, for lack of a better word. But so, and then in terms of, was this HRS violated? In my opinion, not. I think the HRS clearly was intended to prevent people from threatening others in submitting testimony. And I don't think any of that is what happened here in the communication between Ms. Lee and Mr. No. I think he might, well, I don't want to speculate as to how he came to that conclusion, but I mean, liberty is, oh, pardon me. Liberty is like a very nice, gentle, polite lady. So I, just the fact that he thinks somebody was threatening his safety is unbelievable to me, honestly. That's what I would have to say about that.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. I do struggle with this provision, the statutory provision that we referenced earlier. Again, it's 281-59. The commission has in the past recommended that applicants reach out to people who have protests and try to be good neighbors. And I think it's important as a general rule for all of our licensees to be good neighbors. And having community engagement is a big component to that. So I agree with your earlier comment that has been suggested in the past by the commission, by staff members. But the statute itself is rather broad. It says provided, and I'm quoting in pertinent part, provided that the applicant shall not use a protester list to attempt to influence in any way any protester to withdraw the protest or objection. And so that being drafted rather broadly encompasses quite a bit. And I too, looking at this letter, don't view it as a threatening letter necessarily, but it does ask to reconsider the protest. So I'm trying to reconcile really just that phrase with an attempt to influence to withdraw the protest. But I agree, we all want to be good neighbors, and we all want to just make sure that everyone around us are comfortable with what's going on in the facilities. And if there are complaints, they can go directly to you and talk about the issues. So that's what I'm trying to balance, at least in my mind. So if you can maybe speak a little bit more to the actual statutory language that we're dealing with, and how this letter, in your opinion, doesn't reach the statutory threshold.
Yeah, so I think, and it is helpful that Fred included some of these definitions in here. So I mean, there's clearly no, use of pressure. This definitely isn't coercive. So under that definition of influence, I don't think that this meets that threshold. To the extent the spirit of the letter is important to you guys, I think that we were really just trying to communicate to him that this was not a new application, or this was not a new establishment, while it may be a new application, and the country club has existed for a period of time. Given the factual assumption in his letter that appeared to be mistaken, we thought providing him these new facts would help him possibly, just feel differently about us. But nobody was attempting. What we were attempting to do was correct a factual misunderstanding. We weren't attempting to influence what he was saying. We recognize that this is America and people can say literally whatever they want. But so that's how we do not fall, this is why we don't violate that provision, in my opinion. I would have to say though, because of that investigation, when the second complaint came in, I told Fred, I'm not inclined to respond. So I forwarded him our policy and I said, hey, can you please forward this to the protesters so that they don't feel like we're ignoring them? And his response was, no, he can't do that. So I do feel bad that now that person feels like they commented and nobody responded. And I guess I too struggle with this really broadly worded statute, because when we come and sit in front of you guys, you ask if we've done anything, but going forward, I think I'm going to advise clients not to respond because of what I just experienced.
Mr. Senior,
I mean,
question.
so it's not really a question, it's more like a comment, right? I think when we ask you folks, or in my own mind anyway, when I ask you folks if you guys have touched base with someone that has made a complaint or something like that, it's more for me to have you and that person have an interaction, whether or not you can meet somewhere, right? And like you stated, you had wanted to give them more information in regards to whether or not how long this establishment has been there, things we've done, things like that. Reading through the letter, I mean, I see you do that, but then I don't really, for my own self, what I'm trying to grapple with is what was the reason for asking them to reconsider. The point is they have a right to make say what it is. You have a right to tell them, hey, this is what we want to feel, what we're doing, right? And then ultimately, when we hear both sides of it, we end up determining something. So that's where I'm grappling with the statute and what was said in the letter. Because technically, I know you're stating you didn't reach the threshold, but you did ask for them to possibly change their decision because I'm giving you this new information. So that's just my own personal grappling in between that, the statute, what was stated in the letter.
But I think we'd like to continue to encourage you and your clients to have discussions with people that have protests. But as highlighted here, this is just a note of caution for future correspondences. I mean, as I read it, I don't feel like there was ill or violent intent in the letter at all. However, the statute as government is quite broad. So this is our first go at this.
So perhaps we delete that last sentence from the template.
Yes.
Yes, I'll make a, what's the wording here? Commission may go into an executive session for the following reason to consider.
Only the first.
To consult with the board's attorneys on questions and issues on a matter pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, and immunities and liabilities.
I second.
So a motion and a second, any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries. We are now in executive session. Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for giving us time to go into executive session. While in the executive session, we discussed mostly procedural approach to this. So essentially, we have two issues before us. We have a licensing matter that's on the agenda for this afternoon, the approval of a liquor license. We also have a determination of whether or not there's been a violation by the applicant of section 281-59. As to the first, it's something we are prepared to rule on, and we'll make a motion shortly. As to the second, in executive session, we discussed procedurally what's the best way to approach that. Since this is an investigation as to whether or not there's been a violation of chapter 281, we have processes for that, and that's through enforcement investigation, not through licensing. So it's not a matter that should be before us today. We would recommend to and direct the administration to conduct, and we believe from your comments, it's already been an investigation started. We believe that there should be an enforcement investigation as to whether or not there has been a violation. As to that point, I believe you mentioned Mr. Cruz was taking the lead on that. And I think that's probably a logical step since it happened within the realm of the licensing matter itself. However, Mr. Cruz, I believe, is on the licensing investigation side and not the enforcement investigation side. So we believe that it would probably be more prudent for the enforcement investigators to actually have an investigation and make that determination. We don't have before us today, because this is not an adjudication hearing, we don't have evidence and facts before us to actually make a full decision on the matter. So what we can do today is make a motion on agenda item number 3, and we're prepared to do that. Commissioners, may I have a motion?
I move we approve application number 23-00564.
Second,
We've got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00564 is approved. So, Mr. Hero, we will allow investigation into whether or not there's been a violation, and that will run its investigative course, and we'll take whatever steps prudent from there.
Right.
Any questions on that?
Would this require re-interviewing or was my prior interview sufficient for that purpose?
So I guess point of order to Ms. Farai, I'll start with you. Since we want enforcement to conduct an investigation, would that just be referred over to an enforcement investigator to pick up where the investigation is currently?
My understanding is we take the entire matter and refer to date and refer it over to enforcement and wait for enforcement's recommendation in terms of how they will proceed to address the assignment.
And as you know, Ms. O'Hara, but we'll say it for the record, we have an adjudication process that's at the back of our calendar. We have investigators that look at whether or not there's been a violation of a particular statute or rule. And that comes before us in an adjudication hearing rather than a licensing.
Yeah, like this.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess we can tackle that when it happens. I mean, my preference would be not to spend more time on a second interview, obviously. And then for the other thing I wanted to bring up, as you may recall, we requested specials to carry us from when we had our second temp, which expired until now. And we were actually scheduled to be on the August 17th, and then we were bumped till today. So we would like to request a refund of our fees, if possible, from August 17th, please, since that would have been our original hearing date.
Okay, so that was the temp that you were going to use to fill time before the permit was.
Yeah, we've been riding on specials at $90 a day, which, kind of adds up. So we would appreciate if we could be refunded from the 17th, which would have been our original hearing date.
That is not for the commission, but if Ms. O'Hara can direct a letter to administration, I think we can handle that administratively.
Okay. Could you work with the administration regarding?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Okay, thank you. Calling agenda item number 4, application number 23-00868 from Yoda LLC.
Mr. Chairman, to my right is Daniel Lib. He's the owner of the applicant. In the record, reflect Wayne Luke as counsel. We have no changes to the investigators report. They are currently operating without a liquor license.
Thank you, Mr. Luke. That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meeting due to lack of quorum. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Ms. Rai, is there anyone who'd like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 4? Hearing and seeing none, Commissioner?
I have one question.
I move we approve application number 23-00868.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-00868 is approved. Thank you very much.
Commissioners.
Calling agenda item number 5, application number 23-01308 from Popular Human LLC.
To my right is Kevin Young. He's a member of the LLC. He is president of council. We have no changes to investigators report.
Ms. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meet due to lack of quorum. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 5? Hearing and seeing none, Commissioners?
I have any questions.
I move we approve application number 23-01308.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01308 is approved. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 6, application number 23-01416 from Better Bites Thai LLC.
After the chair, members of the commission, thank you, Chair. Authorization for appearing on behalf of the applicant. To my right is Anthony Bang, who is a member manager. I provided the spelling of his name. He was reported prior to coming up here. We have received the investigative report, no changes there too.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This matter was rescheduled from the August 17th meeting due to lack of quorum. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicants met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 6? Hearing and seeing none, Commissioners?
I have no questions.
I move we approve application number 23-01416.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01416 is approved.
Thank you.
Moving into our license applications, calling agenda item number 7, application number 24-00300 from Free Spirits LLC.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair Matthew Choi, Manager, Member of Free Spirits. We have no changes to the investigative report.
Good afternoon. And could you just briefly describe this event and your security protocol?
Yep, it's a seltzer tasting event. So the barn in Kakako, which is enclosed, is going to be split into 2 parts. One side is going to be a tasting room where you have to get tickets for, and you get little 2-ounce samples, and you can go around and try these different brands. And the other half is going to be a seltzer bar. We'll be selling some of the seltzers that we're sampling. We're going to have 2 security at each gate, the front entrance and the back entrance. The back side will be closed. So only vendors can come in and out if they have to reload. And then we'll have 2 roaming security that roam the inside of the barn.
And this is a 21 and over event.
21 and over.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I have no questions.
Right, I move we approve application number 24-00300.
Second,
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00300 is approved. Thank you. Moving into our preliminary hearings, calling agenda item number 8, transfer application number 23-01657 from Shokudo Japanese LLC. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Stephen Koba representing Shokudo. To my right is Mr. Ryan Cole, KO. He's General Manager for Shokudo. We don't have any changes to the investigative reports.
Thank you very much. Commissioners.
Okay, I move we approve application number 23-01657.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01657 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 9, application number 23-01383 from Long's Drugs Stores California LLC.
Good afternoon, members of the commission. Newton Chu on behalf of the applicant, Long's Drugs California LLC. My right is Dean Tanodra, Tanodra. He's the district manager for Long's. We do have one, I think, correction to the investigator's report. I think on page 4, the investigation report cites 513 other restaurant licenses, but I think you mean retail.
Retail.
That's all.
That'd be a lot of long restaurants. I did not know that. Thank you, commissioners.
I have no questions.
I move we approve application number 23-01383.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01383 is approved.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Moving into our catering licenses, calling agenda item number 10, application number 24-00383 from 17A Productions LLC. Skull and Crown. Agenda item number 10. Okay, so it looks like there's no one appearing on behalf of the applicant for agenda item number 10. Typically, we would try to continue the matter and see if someone would show up the next week, but then they would be halfway through their catering license. Commissioners, any course of action you'd like to take?
If I could just want, the reason this is before you is because typically for catering license applications that are under a certain duration, we can do administratively. Ones that are in excess of 3 days, we put to you. I guess technically you could either take action or delegate it back to us to approve administratively.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Farai. So this is starting tomorrow. So they don't have much time to get back to the administration if they actually want to do this, but commissioners, any preferences?
So I have my preference is to delegate the authority to the administration. However, it would be concerning if they started serving alcohol tomorrow without a license.
I mean, certainly enforcement could check on that. They would have one to see, they want to do it from 5 p.m. It will be open all day tomorrow. The investigative report has been completed and submitted forward. It would just be a matter of taking action on the approval for a 10-day span, because that's what is in why we put it to you in the first place.
Well, I move we delegate authority to grant approval to the administration for application number 24-0032383.
second,
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The ability to grant or deny application number 24-00383 is delegated to the administration. Thank you. Moving on to requests, calling agenda item number 11, request number 24-00156 from LP Hawaii Corporation.
And Chair, I have a disclosure to make. My company, Techmana, has in the past sponsored the gay kickball event, but this will not affect my ability to be impartial in this decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Hong. Your disclosure is noted for the record.
Hello, Commissioner and Board. My name is Ezekiel Enfield. I'm acting agent for 2012 Bar and Grill.
You need spelling? Or, yeah. Can you spell your last?
Enfield, INFIEL.
So you're temporarily increasing your premises for this event, September 2nd and September 3rd. It blends into the September 30th.
Yes, correct.
Commissioner?
So this is the parking lot in front of the building?
So it's just it's the parking lot in front of the building. We had it planned for it, but being that we're only a few days out, we're probably only gonna use it to actually have people sit outside for food and maybe just some drinks. Entertainment is planned for the inside of the building, so.
What are your plans in barricading the front portion of the parking lot that would go out to Baratania Street? I think on the sides you have buildings already, but the front portion.
Yeah, so the front, we're gonna stanchion off from the parking lot all the way to the end. So we have a bunch of stanchions and we'll have people there to actually check the wristbands, because we do have I guess we do have shuttles coming in from other places,
Okay.
so they'll have their wristbands there.
My only comment would be, instead of just only checking wristbands, let's make sure we keep an eye out for people trying to pass things past your stanchions out onto the sidewalk, for individuals that may not be part of the party or things of that nature.
Okay.
That's the only comment I have.
Okay, I move we approve application number 24-00383. Oh, I'm sorry. Request number 24-00156.
Second,
It's been a motion and second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00156 is approved. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 12, request number 24-00223 from North Shore Tacos LLC. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Arcibelli. Last name Arcibelli. We're just requesting for the 90-day trial. We're planning on starting happy hours to increase our sales. The idea is to have live music at least on the first day from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, so this is on a trial basis for 90 days and
Mhm.
the music is in the afternoon, not in the evening.
Yeah,
Commissioner?
and so based off of the report or supplemental, the information that was provided in the report, I guess you guys, when you first put the license in, right, you guys had talked about having music and things like that, and then later on, you folks changed it to not have music or dancing based on, I guess, there was some issues in the neighborhood, right, that came up back in 2017. My comment is going to be if you start getting people complaining, please let's work to address their concerns or their issues. Only so that you don't have numerous people coming that were against or having issues with the prior idea of live music, okay? And I know from 3 to 5, that's pretty shallow of a time period. Just never know. Okay.
yeah, I think like when they first applied for the license, the neighborhood didn't understand, like, is because we are a restaurant, it's not like a nightclub or anything. And we are in the middle of the North Shore, so I mean, it shouldn't be anything disturbing. The neighborhoods sounded excited about it, so.
Main thing is that hopefully they sound excited and really ready to come provide business to you.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's the only comment I had.
What type of music are you gonna be playing?
We're gonna have like a duo, like Hawaiian music, reggae, just like chill, like acoustic happy hour music, because we're like, it's gonna be indoors. And we don't want the music to be super loud and then people cannot talk, because again, it's a restaurant, not a nightclub, so. Yeah.
I move we approve request number 24-00223.
Second,
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00223 is approved.
Here, have a good one.
Calling agenda item number 13, request number 24-00409 from 10P Limited.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the commission, Mr. Rai, Robert Wheelk on behalf of Food Pantry at the Hilton Hawaiian Village. There's a request to renew our liquor license, which we did not renew because we had we consented to the transfer of the liquor license. And we thought that was it. But we're subsequently informed after that we needed to renew because the transfer application wasn't, I guess, completed, wasn't issued. So as an accommodation to the applicant, it is Goodrich Verling Enterprises LLC. We're now asking to renew the liquor license after the deadline, so their transfer application can be processed.
Okay, and that one's pending, I presume.
That one's pending, but I think the processing was held off just because we didn't renew, but we're told after the renewal deadline that we needed to renew, so we're willing to do that to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner.
I have no questions.
I move we approve request number 24-00409.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00409 is approved.
Thank you.
Very much. Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 14, Liquor Commission, 1-year review of operations, re DSM Food and Spirits LLC, BBH Study Hall, Sports Bar. and Liquor. There is no appearance for DSM Food and Spirits LLC. This is a 1-year review. Ms. Wright, any comments from the administration?
Yes, typically for a 1-year review of operations, the commission does not take action. They frequently will ask enforcement if during the year with the modified hours of operation, were there any problems? It's disappointing that no one showed up, but you would be able to ask enforcement if during the past year, the hours of operation have been at all problematic at this licensed premise.
It is noted that this was rescheduled from August 17th, 2023. Is there any indication in the record that notice was provided that it was continued to this date? Or is
It would typically would have been by letter. I mean, that would be in the file. I can look, but.
Okay, well, commissioners,
well, my comment is, I remember doing a few adjudications
I do. as
for
well.
this licensee within this year. I don't know if those were violations that were for this year or a prior year. And so for me, I'm more inclined in concern in regards to that adjudications, whether or not there was issues or not. And for me, I'm more like, I would rather, if we can say we would want one more year for them to show whether or not they do well with these times and maintain the current restrictions we have, but I don't know if that's something we can do.
I mean, certainly we can just simply attempt to reschedule again. If that's the preference of the commission.
I believe to answer your question, either reschedule again to have, hopefully we have the licensee come and explain what's been going on for the past year, or impose were there any restrictions for this license? And that's what we're reviewing.
Basically, what happened is that the request made was to modify the hours of operation. So that was not what they've been operating under is Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., Friday, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. My recollection is that basically on each day they gained an hour of operating time. So that was the modification to the restrictions on the license was just operating hours.
Guess I would agree with Commissioner Hollinger's comments that we would like to hear from the licensee.
Okay, we'll just reschedule. You can just direct us to try to reschedule the matter, and we'll just make a effort to document contact with the licensee.
Okay, so agenda item number 14 will be continued to the next available hearing. Ready to go into adjudication?
I'm ready.
Okay, at this time, we'll move into our adjudications. Afternoon.
Good evening, Commissioners. Daniel Jacob, Deputy Corporation Counsel on behalf of the City and County of Honolulu.
Good afternoon. Calling. Calling agenda item number 15, LCV 23-0023, Smith and King's Restaurant. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Keith Kyuchi for the licensee who waived reading of both charges and our plea of no contest on both charges.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Plea of no contest is entered for charge 1 and charge 2.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation for charge 1 and charge 2, please.
Both of these violations occurred on February 24th, 2023. Charge 1 is for failing to have a duly registered manager on duty. Charge 2 is for employing someone without being properly registered for the commission. This is a first-time violation for both charges. The first charge is a recommended fine of $500. That's for the failing to have a registered manager. Failing to have someone working without properly registered is a $350 recommended fine. So grand total $850.
Yeah, right now, Smith and King's had at that point, it still does to some extent, have a challenge in terms of workers trying to get employees out there. So with the second violation, which I'll take first, it was an employee that came in. The owner who really manages premises, Samantha Moore, told him to register. He kept telling her he was going to go down and he never went down, which is a problem. So he no longer works there. As to the first violation, Ms. Moore has been covering a lot of shifts and this kind of just slipped in between the cracks. But she's had a real challenge. I spent some time with her this morning on another matter. She's had a real challenge trying to just get employees. So that's what happened here.
So currently though, she's registered or she.
Everybody is registered. Yeah. And she's so this commission probably wasn't sitting when with Ms. Moore took over Smith and King's. But she had a lot of issues 8 years ago, and she's really cleaned it up. I mean, she has done a really good job with running a tight ship. If you look at the violations, recently have been few and far between, but she's also had some real challenges in terms of workers right now.
So, okay, so Mr. Keys, your question for charge 2, I know you made a reference to one person that you know, she kept saying, you gotta go down, he kept putting it off, and he ultimately never did. What about Claire Taylor, the second, there's 2 names, that's why there. What about the second person? Did they finally get registered or?
They did.
But they were working, I guess, on the day that they were not registered. Same. Okay. Okay, my motion is going to be for charge 1 to approve the recommended fine of $500 and for charge 2 to issue a letter of reprimand.
Second.
There a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carried. The fine of $500 will be opposed for charge 1. And a letter of reprimand will be issued for charge number 2 under agenda item number 15.
Yeah, thank you.
Calling agenda item number 16, LCV 23-0073, Stubum and Stonewall Brewing Co. LLC.
Captain Robert Wheelock on behalf of Beach House Beer Company, present to my right, Mr. Donald Prestage. He is the president, first name Donald, last name Prestage. This time going to waive reading of the charge, enter a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, what's your recommendation for agenda item number 16?
This violation occurred on May 19th, 2023, when the licensee failed to have a registered manager on duty. This is a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
Mr. Uyo, any explanation?
I just want to mention my client, Mr. Prestage, he is from Maui. He is from Lahaina. He flew in for this hearing. We did lose 2 of our licensed premises on Maui on Dickinson Street in downtown Lahaina. This is the 3rd place we're going to open. We're in the process of, we have a temporary license right now. This involved we had actually 2 managers on duty. We personally thought the place was closed, but the door was unlocked. So they came in and we had 2 managers who both had manager cards. And then they because they just punched out at 9:45, the investigators came in at 10. So they issued a violation on this one. I understand it's our first offense. This matter.
So sorry to hear for your loss on Maui, very trying times going on there. So sorry to hear about that. Mr. Uyoka, let's make sure, for the managers, right? If they're gonna clock out, that the doors are closed and locked, because obviously that will be a violation if they're open and someone can come in and they're not on the clock. So my motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 16.
Second.
The motion and second, any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 16.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Calling agenda item number 17, LCD 23-0064, Izakaya today. You just went to the bathroom? Okay, we will recall this agenda item further down the calendar. Oh, wait, I think he does say here, recalling agenda item number 17, LCD 23-0064, Izakaya today. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's it. Could you please state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, my name is Tony Ra. The owner of the restaurant, unfortunately, my wife signed all the papers, so I'm still representing Izakaya. Please, thank you, sir.
Mr. Jacobs, can you please read the charge?
Charge 1, on or about May 20th, 2023 at 2:19 a.m. in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii, licensee failed to have the street and or primary entrances to the licensed premises unlocked during the time customers were on the premises, in violation of Rule 3-84-72.2 of the Rules of the Liquor Commission of the city and county of Honolulu. Charge 2, on or about May 20th, 2023 in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii, licensee permitted liquor of any kind while in a bottle, glass, or other container to be open and readily consumable within the licensed premises before or after the hours established by the Liquor Commission, to wit, 2:19 a.m. in violation of Rule 3-82-38.20 sub B of the Rules of the Liquor Commission of the city and county of Honolulu. Charge 3, on or about May 20th, 2023 in the city and county of Honolulu, state of Hawaii, licensee failed to have a duly registered manager in active charge of the licensed premises during the time the establishment is licensed to sell or serve liquor, in violation of 3-82-38.9 sub A of the Rules of the Liquor Commission of the city and county of Honolulu.
So I know I'm gonna botch this, Mr. Rai.
My last name spells R.A. sir.
All right,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Ray, sorry. excuse
Yeah,
me.
I'll be full responsible.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
for each of the charges, I'm going to ask you, you have the you can either accept the charge,
Yes, sir.
deny the charge, or plead no contest. And I'm gonna go through each one of them and you have that right, okay?
Well, why wouldn't I just plead no contest, sir?
Okay, so would you like to plead no contest for charge 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Motion to accept the no contest plea for charges 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The pleas are accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, can you please provide the sorry, lost.
Recommended fines.
Recommendations for charges 1, 2, and 3.
Again, this violation occurred, 3 violations occurred on May 20th, 2023. Essentially, liquor investigators saw that there was activity on the licensed premises. They showed up. They saw people inside. They tried to open the doors. They were locked. And once they did get inside the licensed facility, there was no registered manager on duty. The first charge is a first-time violation. This is for failing to have the doors unlocked. It's a $500 recommended fine. The second violation in regards to permitting liquor to be open and readily available upon hours is a second offense. The first offense happened 12/12/21. The licensee paid $590 on that instance. Because this is a second offense, the base is $750. Then we had $10 per minute. So since this was at 2:19 a.m., there's an additional $190 added on to the $750 recommended fee. As to the third charge, it's a first violation. This is in regards to the manager, duly registered manager on duty. It's a $500 recommended fine. The grand total is $1,940.
Is there any explanations for the charges? No? Okay. So my comment will be, for number 2, this is our second violation for this, and within a couple of years, we need to make sure we keep an eye on these things. And make sure that you have a duly registered manager in charge of your premises, because you're going to have problems if you don't work on those things. My motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $1,940 for charge 1, charge 2, and charge 3.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $1,940 will be imposed for agenda item number 17. Calling agenda item number 18, LCV 23-0053 Royal Coyo LLC.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Khan Skewer Restaurant. Appearing with me is Fiona Yang, a representative of the applicant. We waive reading of all charges and enter a plea of no contest for all charges.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The pleas are accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendations for agenda number 18, charges 1, 2, and 3, please.
It's actually 4 charges. These 4 charges happened on May 5th, 2023. Similar to the last case, investigators arrived on the scene, saw that people were inside, the doors were locked. The first charge is in regards to liquor being openly and readily consumable at 2:13 a.m. This is a first time violation, so the recommended fee or fine is $500 and then with $10 per minute. So 2:13 a.m. is the time investigators arrived. So $630 for charge 1. Charge 2 is in regards to failing to have the street entrance unlocked while customers were present. This is a first time violation. The recommended fine is $500. Charge 3 is in regards to having failing to have a registered manager in charge. This is also a first time violation. The recommended fine is $500. Charge 4 is in regards to having failing to have adequate time cards for 2 employees. This is a first time violation as well. The recommended fine is $250. Grand total of $1,880 are recommended fines.
Mr. Gota, any explanations?
Yes, this is a complete failure on the part of employees who did not follow training that was in place. There's no excuse for that. Immediately after the event, the owner disciplined the employees involved and retrained the staff, and there has not been problems since. I've also discussed and met with the owner to go over all the rules again to emphasize the importance of making sure those are followed. And he indicated he understands and was implementing a stricter culture at the restaurant.
Okay. So he does now understand, right? You need to have a duly registered manager on things of those nature, okay? Because those are
Yes.
pretty big concerns on our end, besides readily available drinks after the time period, okay? My motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $630 for charge 1, $500 for charge 2, $500 for charge 3, and $250 for charge 4, for a grand total of $1,880.
Second.
There a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $1,880 will be imposed for agenda item number 18. Thank you. Calling agenda item number 19, LCV 23-0056, the Games nightclub.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Hughes, representing the licensee. Waive reading of the charge and a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
The motion in the second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Sir Jacobs, your recommendation for agenda item number 19.
This violation occurred on April 30th, 2023, when the licensee sold liquor to a minor. This is the first violation in 5 years. The recommended fine is $1,000. However, I will note for the commission's attention that the licensee did receive 2 violations for selling to a minor. One in May 19th, 2018, and one in May 28th, 2018. So they just barely made our 5-year cutoff to make this again a first violation rather than a third.
Mr. Kiuchi.
Yeah, so Yin's a Mystique. This is the portion that's Mystique. You have 2 different names, the same license. Mystique is a 21 and over only, so the identification is checked at the door. And I had a long talk with the owner. I've talked to the manager, and we don't know how the minor got in, but it's apparent the minor wasn't carded. We have some suspicions. We'll follow up on those suspicions, but the next natural question is, what are you going to do to prevent it? So now they're wristbanding everybody in there, which would make a big difference. So if this guy somehow slipped by the front, he wouldn't have had a wristband. So you have to show your ID to get the wristband. So I think they'll prevent it in the future.
Okay. Yeah, that will prevent it in the future.
I'll let the commission know that night an unidentified male bouncer replied that it was busy and the minor must have snuck past.
Yeah, we have our suspicions.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, Mr. Kiuchi.
Point of order, just as a question. How was the minor identified?
So the investigative report discusses how, in this instance, there was anonymous complaint that there was alcohol being sold to minors. Investigators arrived at the scene, they enter the premises, and then they essentially look for someone who looks youthful. In this instance, I believe they recognize an individual to be looking youthful. I think they contacted HPD, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
HPD came down and they actually
And they didn't
arrested him. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get the admission, I don't believe, until HPD showed up that the individual was minor.
All right, thank you.
So, Mr. Kiuchi, hopefully the bans will help because obviously they just made the 5-year bar. It was 2018.
I understand.
So hopefully that will help.
Yeah.
But my motion is going to be to
Right.
approve the recommended fine of $1,000 for agenda item number 19.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $1,000 will be imposed for agenda item number 19. Calling agenda item number 20, LCB 23-0066 Club Hot Ash.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kiuchi for the licensee. A waive reading of charges 1 and 2 and a plea of no contest on charges 1 and 2.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The pleas are accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendations for agenda item 20, charges 1 and 2, please.
These violations occurred on May 20th, 2023. Charge 1 is in regards to alterations to the licensed premises without commission approval. The licensee installed a private dance stage. That is a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500. As to charge 2, this violation is for failing to have all interior rooms enclosed in a manner that are visible. I understand that there was a welcome to the jungle sign that was posted on the window obstructing the view into the room. This is a first-time violation as well. It's $500 recommended fine for a grand total of $1,000.
So this is an area of the premise, this one, if you've ever dealt with Dave Young, Club Hot Ash, he contest, but this one, a little bit different. There was actually a fire in the club, and the private dance stage this is a room that they had. And what they shouldn't have done actually is they put a shower curtain over the room. So it doesn't matter whether it's a sign or a shower curtain, it was a shower curtain. So they were trying to use this portion of the premises that was burned a little. And they did put a private dance stage, so he'll own up to that. But he no longer uses that room, and he will not use that room unless there's a total renovation. He uses it as that storage right now. So I can tell you as to this room, that ain't gonna happen in the future. So
I guess my question is, so like, we had an interior room that was enclosed, but was there something covering the actual window? There was.
There was,
Okay.
there was.
Okay. I still have to say a fire in a club called Hot Ash makes me kind of concerned, but
Could have been worse. It used to be called Electro.
and what's worse is our river driving by, I see you named that, but that's beyond showing my age.
Yeah.
Okay.
welcome to the jungle part. I'm just waiting.
There was a sign up. I mean, it's just how should I put it? Inappropriate sign.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
but it's the whole idea, right? Is it's got to be visible. So it doesn't really matter what's in front of it. Shower curtain, sign.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've had this talk with a client like this week, and he says, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, there's a reason for that." So.
okay. Wow. It's gonna be costly, sorry to say for your
Yeah.
client, but my motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $500 for charge one and $500 for charge two, totaling $1,000 for agenda item number 20.
The second on that motion.
Oh, second, sorry. I was reading ahead to the next.
There's been a motion and a second, and the objections, reservations. Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $1,000 will be imposed for agenda item number 20. Calling agenda item number 21, LCB 23-0065, Club Hot Ash.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Hughes, the licensee. We waive reading the charge and our plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
A motion and a second, and the objections, reservations. Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, your recommendation for agenda item number 21.
This violation occurred on May 20th, 2023, when the licensee failed to have adequate time cards for 7 of its employees. This is a second time violation. The recommended fine is $350. The first violation occurred August 29th, 2020, where the licensee paid $250. I apologize.
Manager wasn't thinking that night, didn't double check the cards. The cards were all obviously, nobody checked in the 7 employees. That was the problem. So Mr. Young's talked to the manager. That's not going to happen.
All these happened on the same day.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was the manager. Part of the problem is Mr. Young wasn't there that night.
Hmm.
And I think that makes a huge difference. Because this is one of the few times he's had violations where he physically wasn't on premises. Which I think, you know, and frankly, that probably explains this violation more than the other two. So.
Mr. Jacobs, you said they had a prior one, what was it, 2022 or 2020?
2020, August 29th, 2020.
My motion is going to be to approve the recommended fine of $350, and I'm going to state it's because there's 7 individuals that were working and none of them were clocked.
Could have been worse.
Yeah, I'm just saying 7 is kind of high.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it could have been a lot worse. They could have been being the licensee for a violation for each employee. Understand that.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A fine of $350 will be imposed for agenda item number 21.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 22, LCB 23-0067, Platinum Partners Inc., DBA Scratch Kitchen and Eatery.
Good afternoon, Chair Buckley and members of the commission. Neil Gota, appearing on behalf of Scratch Kitchen and Eatery. Appearing with me is Gary Chen, the Secretary and Director of licensee. We waive reading of the charge and enter a plea of no contest.
Motion to accept the plea.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, the recommendation for charge agenda item number 22.
This violation occurred on April 18th, 2023, where the licensee stored liquor somewhere other than their licensed premises. In essence, what happened here is the licensee has 2 locations, one on Aoahi Street, and they just recently, I think, obtained a former Outback Steakhouse. They storing the liquor that they bought for Aoahi Street at the Outback Steakhouse Hawaii Kai location. This is a first time violation. It's a recommended fine of $500.
Mr. Gupta, any explanations?
This was an honest mistake on part of Mr. Chen. He had submitted a catering application to the commission, which was being processed. He had thought he could then move the liquor over to the Hawaii Kai location, which the catering application was applied for. However, he now knows that was against the rules. So it was an honest mistake and he understands the rule and that won't happen again.
Okay.
No liquor was being sold at that Hawaii Kai location because we didn't have a catering license. It simply was moving the liquor from Oahe to Hawaii Kai, which would have been allowed had we had the actual catering license issued.
So it was in the process, was it, had we already, okay, but that's a catering, right, doesn't have the same as a regular licensing, right, where it's just, we do it at that point, right? It's not where there's public hearings and things like that. So,
Yeah.
or was it, okay, so I guess my question is, we went through a couple catering licenses for this establishment, right, as we're still trying to get the permanent
Correct.
license through. Was this at a time period where you were in between those two
No.
catering, or it hadn't even taken effect yet?
It was before the first catering license was issued, but he had submitted the application to
Okay.
administration. It was being processed
Okay.
and he moved the liquor mistakenly over to Hawaii Kai.
Mr. Jacobs, just one more question. Sure. How did we even discover this?
A complaint was called into the complaint hotline. The complainant wanted to remain anonymous, stated that Scratch Kitchen is operating out of the former Outback Steakhouse in the Hawaii Kai location and selling liquor. I will note that the investigative report does seem to confirm the licensee statement that there was no liquor being sold, that it was just being stored.
Shigota, please let your client know that, there's specific reasons why we have those types of things in place, right? Because we don't want something in a place where they're not allowed to have it anyway, just in case someone happens to get it. And your client would be in much worse situations if someone gets it and you don't have your license or even catering license applicable at that point, okay? My motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 22.
Second.
The motion and second, any objections, reservations, or seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 22.
Thank you very much.
Calling agenda item number 23, LCD 23-0043, White Sands Hotel. Here.
Were they not planning on appearing?
No, their understanding was that this is gonna be withdrawn.
So sorry, just hold 1 second. For the record, there's no appearance for White Sands Hotel in this matter. Please proceed with Jacobs.
Sure. There's two charges at issue here in regards to White Sand. Both of them occurred on March 26, 2023. Both of them pertain to noise violations. Specifically, charge one is in regards to a violation of Rule 3-84-78.03B, which is permitting entertainment which causes complaints from the public, sounds emanating from the licensed premises that cause undue disturbance. Charge two is in regards to the decibel levels, of which it looks like there was a noise level in excess of 65 decibels from 2:02 p.m. to 4:42 p.m. My understanding is that this license came for renewal somewhat recently. I think you all might have a better understanding than myself even, but as a part of the renewal, there was conditions attached to that. And a part of the agreement, I understand, is that these charges would be dropped. So I am requesting that these charges be dropped because of my awareness of the commission's agreement as conditions for the renewal.
Excuse me, that was also our understanding, so thank you for confirming. Point of order, do we have to do anything or is approve any dismissal of the case?
Approve the withdrawal of the matter, I guess, or the charges.
My motion is to approve the withdrawal for agenda item number 23 of charge one and charge two.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Charges one and 2 of agenda item number 23. I'll withdraw. Calling agenda item number 24, LCV 23-0024 Vietnamese Social Club LLC. Stephanie.
Hi, good evening. My name is Melanie Fan, Phan. I will be translating for my father, Jim Fan, who is the owner of the license.
Jim.
This has been continued to this evening for a contested case here. Are the parties ready to proceed with a contested case?
My understanding is that they're gonna plead.
Go ahead. Will you like change your plea?
Yes,
Okay.
it will be no contest.
Motion to accept the no contest plea.
Second. There's been a motion, a second. Any objections, or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carried. The plea is accepted.
Mr. Jacobs, what is your recommendation for agenda item number 24?
So this violation was dated August 10th, 2018, when the licensee failed to notify the commission of a change in the LLC membership. What happened here essentially is that on July 11th, 2018, Mr. Phan was added as a member of the company. On April 26th, 2019, Mr. Phan was made the sole member of the company. The commission, however, didn't receive notice of the addition or the change in members until July 25th, 2019. This is a first-time violation. The recommended fine is $500.
And does your father have any explanation as to why the commission wasn't notified of the changes?
Ông hỏi là bà có lý do nào mà không có báo cho họ biết trước không? Lúc mà làm biết tờ là làm sao ai làm với bà?
Cô Mai làm là không biết mà bảo.
Chứ nó
Giờ người khác làm. Giờ cô Mai làm nhưng mà tại vì mình ba đâu biết mà bạn.
So what happened is that according to his memory is that he left the paperwork to the previous owner, Miss Maya Wilkes. So he just kind of like says yes and sign the paper to agree. But other than that, like the details, he wasn't made aware of it.
Là cổ lại con của bệnh nên thành ra cổ không có làm vì lý do gia đình vậy. Con của bệnh.
She had personal reasons to no longer be owner of the license and transferred it to my father.
Okay. So so I guess my a question I'm going to ask, and you may not know, he or you may not know the answer. So does he understand now, though, that if there's any changes to the names or people that are ownership of the business, you need to let the commission know, because ultimately we have to keep track of who's a managing member or a person that's in charge of the license?
Yes, I was made aware of it when I got the notice of violation. I was like, oh, this is a thing that I have to notify. And I'm like, oh, there's no evidence of Miss Wilkes submitting a 30-day notice.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, the other thing I was just going to ask you, so currently we have everybody correctly listed on who, is your father the only sole owner now, or is there other individuals that are involved?
No one else is involved.
Okay, so we have him on file, correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify your point. So your father was relying on Miss Wilkes to file the paperwork, but then she never did. And now she's no longer part of the company.
Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions? And this happened back in 2019? Was when we finally found out about it, or when it was kind of done already?
Mr. Phan was first added as a member on July 11, 2018. He became the sole owner on April 6th or April 26, 2019. The commission wasn't notified until July 25th, 2019. So over a year on the addition of the member, and then about 3 months for the sole takeover.
Okay,
I don't know if this is in your file, Mr. Jacobs, but was he already fingerprinted and had his affidavits submitted for some of the reason? And do you
I
know
will,
that you can-
do you know if he was fingerprinted?
Yes,
Okay,
I
would,
made the appointment. And he went to get fingerprinted and his history is clean, no felony.
all right. So. First thing is the prior owner should have let you know correctly, or let your father know how he should have moved forward with being added and ultimately taking over the business. Because they're just as much supposed to know and knowledge as what's going on. Okay. Based on it happened back in 2018 and 2019, we now currently have the correct names, and please, sounds as if you know now how things need to work. If things change, we need to be updated all the time in these areas. So my motion is going to be to issue a letter of reprimand for agenda item number 24.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. A letter of reprimand will be issued for agenda item number 24. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 25, liquor administrative matters, Ms. Wright.
I don't have anything to add to the report I circulated earlier. The administrator is in the audience. However, if he wishes to add anything.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners or the administrator or acting administrator? Hearing and seeing none, we are now